All right, for show tone and guidance so that we can have some range as an enterprise, because the next 5 months are going to have a lot of garbage in them. Would you guys prefer, as a show, to talk about Project 2025, a threat to all things American democracy related, or would you like to hear some sound of co-hosts in New York figuring out that Stugotz's game is filled with lies? And evidently WFAN, now he is being paid to work today. I thought we were paying him to work today for WFAN, but we are paying him to not work today for WFAN because he hasn't gotten to New York yet.
Wow. I think I'd rather Project 25 at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. Explain it to me.
You really you want me to go right before Jemele Hill full bore politics? I will explain it to you now. Thank you for asking. I do appreciate it, because we do have some sound that Chris Cody and Taylor is walking around palpably disgusted, learning some of what Billy has learned for 20 years, that Stugotz is going to do the most despicable things. He's going to get caught again and again, and he's going to suffer no consequences.
Taylor's also just acting like listening to WFAN is working. He's like, hey, I'm working here, buddy, for you. I got another clip. I guess in this instance, he does have a clip that he's provided to me, but I think every day he's just listening to that show.
Well, I've wanted him to get Gas Bag of the Week for us, and all that's ever been produced is a couple of WFAN hosts talking. Like, I don't know. We've got the entire internet, all of sports media at our perusal, and we can't find anything but like Sal, whatever his name is, who works at FAN.
Two birds, one stone thing going on here.
Well, he's learned well from Stugotz. What is the sound that you have, though, before I get to Project 2025? Because it is dry, but it is scary, and I do think people need to know what is up ahead, because it's horrifying.
This clip I want to play from WFAN is them, because you think, okay, we don't know what Stugotz is doing this week. You'd think the people at WFAN, they might know what he's doing, but that's not exactly the case. Let's take a listen.
And Stugotz is coming back in all his glory after his flirtation with the program director's job that he dragged on unnecessarily for months and months and months. He's going to come in and host with me on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I think Friday, although he's like on the fence about that apparently, but whatever. He's
on the fence.
I don't know. He's like, yeah, I might have something Friday. The guy seems to be a little bit of a unreliable man at times.
And they keep going. It's them kind of realizing the monster that we knew existed. They're kind of learning this as they go.
I mean, he's trying to play golf. He's another one of these guys that he says he's going to do a lot of stuff, never delivers. You know what I'm saying?
So let's take him this week.
Well, he says he was going to set it up. Like, it was like he was here somewhere. He's like, hey, he likes to, what's the best way to say this without it sounding totally insulting? Okay. He likes when he makes himself feel important. He wants to impress. And that's another thing I think that comes from the sidekick syndrome thing. Like, he wants to show you that he can do these things. So I'm like, okay, fine. He's like, well, what golf courses do you want to play? I'm like, I just gave him 4. So let's see if we can get it done. And he goes, I was like, try to get this guy on, that guy on. I was like, you talk about it so much, so let's see it.
Are you thinking that he's going to get any of those people that he's claiming? Will he get any
shot
of
he
the
plays golf.
reservations?
He's not going to play golf with that guy, and he's not going to get any of the guests that he promised. It's just chef's kiss.
And he's only going to be giving them Tuesday through Thursday after a week of fill-in work.
Maybe Friday. I got to let you know. I'll let you know on Thursday. I got a thing.
All the while, God bless football, Billy. What happens there?
I mean, so I tried to schedule a day. I have a day and a time set to record, and we're recording at that day and time. Whether he's there or not, we're recording at that day and time. He told me he's working on 2 guests. We're recording at that day and time.
Okay, so I want to know, before we get to Jemele Hill here, I just want to know.
The thing is this, and here's really the problem, is like there's just this kind of like thinking that everyone's waiting around and like available 24/7 to just pop in at 5 minutes notice to do these things, and it's not the way things work in a company.
As he's
where
never
you're
done,
sharing
as if he's
resources.
never done any of this before. And do you guys think he will pop into Meadowlark offices at any point over the course of the week to show he's a team player with the people in Meadowlark Studios?
In New York?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
With very little heads up and in a haste, presumably to record God Bless Football, even though he knows the date and time.
That's
Maybe.
a laptop special.
Just
this
to
week.
get a studio.
Laptop special.
Before we get to the news of the weekend and before we get to Jemele Hill, I do just want to tell you about Project 2025. I will try not to inundate you here. I think that everyone should vote and that everyone should know what might really be coming next year if Trump gets elected. It's a playbook for his second term. It's organized by the Heritage Foundation. It's a right-wing think tank. He claims to have no idea who's behind it, even though 140 or more of his former administration officials, like a lot of whom are sort of organized crime family felon criminals, helped to craft it. But the distance that came from Trump came only after the president of the Heritage Foundation said earlier this month, quote, "We're in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be," end quote. Before that, in 2022, when Trump was talking about the Heritage Foundation, he said, quote, "They're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America, and that's coming," end quote. I tell you all of this because here are 22 of the agenda items from a 922-page playbook that represents a better plan for how to dismantle government and systems in this country. Now that after the buffoonery of 2016, they actually know how to rig everything in the system. 22 of the agenda items. End climate protections. Increase Arctic drilling. Eliminate free weather forecasts. Eliminate public unions. Eliminate the Department of Education. End free lunch at school. Teach Christian beliefs in schools. Ban books about slavery. Ban African American and gender studies. Ban porn. Ban the pill used in half of abortions. Defund the Department of Homeland Security and replace it with a horseback-mounted border patrol. Begin mass deportation of immigrants and incarcerate them in, quote, camps. Defund the FBI and put the Justice Department under presidential control. Defund NPR and PBS. Raise prescription drug prices. Raise the retirement age. Raise taxes for the working class. Give tax breaks to corporations and the working class. Ban transgender people from the military and consider reinstituting the draft. Promote capital punishment. Use the military to break up protests.
Wait, ban porn?
Jemele Hill is with us now, and I think I can say, I don't know, can I say friends with Kamala Harris? You've gotten to know her pretty well, so thank you for joining us. Before we get to any of it, your reaction is what to what it is that I just read there?
Oh, well, I've been very, very kept up to speed on Project 2025. I've been looking at it for quite some time now. The one I can't figure out is the weather service. Like, that is so random. It's just that the other ones make sense and they're totally on brand with this particular organization and on brand with a lot of
but it's just
Trump
keep
surrogates.
Information from people on climate change. It's just,
I mean, about the weather, like, I can't know that it's going to be 80 on Friday, 80 degrees on Friday. Like, what? I can't plan my vacation by knowing that, oh, it might rain this day. Like, I don't even deserve an umbrella. Like, that's where we are. Like, it's just, I just don't get it. And clearly based off this list, these people not only hate history and hate basically anybody who isn't white, straight, or Christian, they also hate fun. And I thought if there's one thing that brings America together, it's fun. And so I'd love to know how a lot of people, like if I were the Democrats and I'm trying to message Project 2025, I would start with banning porn and go from there. I mean, that just seems like a layup to me. Like, tell people they want to ban porn, see what happens.
Mike Ryan, I haven't
fired up.
seen you this passionate in a long time.
I'm fired up. Can't be doing that. Everything else seems pretty chill.
That's where the line is for you. Jemele, what do you make of the last 8 days, not the last 2 days?
Well, and then to first address your question, you said you tried to characterize my relationship with Vice President Harris. I would say we're friendly. I wouldn't presume by calling her a friend, but we definitely know each other. We definitely have a personal, relationship. And so the last, to now get to your actual question, the last, sort of 2 weeks, it's just like been in bizarro world. I'll be very upfront. Like, I was of the opinion that Joe Biden shouldn't resign, or at least quit the race. Let me be very clear about that. I was of that opinion. And frankly, I think it just shows the difference between the two parties. As I said before, that debate performance, I'm not trying to sit up here and justify that it was good. It clearly wasn't good. But you basically took one debate performance. And by the way, we've known Joe Biden is old, and they should especially know, because a lot of the people who suddenly came out and said, hey, we don't know if this guy has it, they've been in contact with him. They've been in close contact with him. They've seen him, in some cases, day in and day out. So it just occurred to you on this debate stage that Joe Biden is old. And my thing is for his own party to turn on him. And they did. They turned on him, and then they bullied him out of the race because they panicked over the debate performance. And I'm like, you have the more popular policies. You have a president whose entire administration will go down as one of the most accomplished of this generation. The guy who successfully brought you out of COVID. We have record low Black unemployment. We have all these things, good signs, good things that are going on with the economy. You have all these things that are in your favor, and you let 1 hour wipe away the last 4 years. And it just, to me, it showed sometimes why there are frustrated Democratic voters. It's like Donald Trump could have urinated on himself on that stage, and they would have called it the greatest presidential piss they've ever seen. The Republicans would never. All right. And you have the incumbent. And so just seeing, and even the media coverage, Dan, I was like, it wasn't just one old guy in this race. It's two old guys. Donald Trump is 3 years younger than Joe Biden. Donald Trump can't complete a sentence. Donald Trump gets names wrong all the time. Donald Trump goes on wild tangents about Hannibal Lecter and creating dome missiles like we're in some sci-fi movie made by Tom Cruise. All right. He does this literally all the time. He sounds incoherent, incompetent. But from the media coverage, you would swear there's only one guy whose cognitive abilities need to be questioned. Because if we're going to open this door completely, we should open it all the way. And that was never done. So the fixation between the press, the Democrats panicking, I was like, what is all this happening? Nevertheless, from the rubble has emerged the fact that Kamala Harris, to me, is the candidate to put on the presidential ballot. She is the one. But yet, I don't get the sense that everybody in the Democratic Party is on board with this. I think the fundraising that we've seen for her in the last 24 hours, starting with, to be honest, a lot of Black women who got in formation, and in the span of 100 minutes, raised $1 million on a Zoom call I was invited to. And if not having to deal with something else, I would have been on the Win with Black Women phone call, where they were talking about strategy.
Hold on a second.
Just a second. Hold on.
Okay, I just wanted to say that, yes, you would have been on that call. I think that's a look at me, Louise, is it not? Like it's
yeah, look at me, Louise.
I mean, it is. It's okay. Continue. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's what you're gonna do, Dan? Really?
I'm just saying.
I mean, it was a call for Black.
We know you're a powerful woman who can raise a lot of money in a moment, and we know that an army of people assembled yesterday showed a strength of Black power, and that you should have been there too. We know. You didn't have to tell us.
I mean, I had something else I had to deal with, so I wasn't on the call. But nevertheless, I believe deeply in Win with Black Women. All right, it was 44,000 women on that call. Okay, 44,000. All right. I was clearly not the only quote unquote powerful Black woman who is in America, but nevertheless, in 100 minutes, Dan, they raised over $1 million. So everybody's getting information behind Kamala Harris. But there's always been all these reports about how the big money donors within the party don't necessarily want her on the ticket. And this wasn't just about Joe Biden getting off the ticket. It was also about her getting off the ticket. So anyway, this has been complete chaos. It's something unprecedented I've certainly never seen in my lifetime. And I just wonder at what point are Democrats really going to show some spine and show some unity to achieve what I think most of us want to see happen, which is to defeat somebody who plans to usher in that playbook that you sort of illustrated to people, because a lot of people still don't know about Project 2025. I think that's the number one goal. The question is, like, we're 4.5 months out. So now it's already like it's time to cut the nonsense and get to a universal, widely supported candidate and put this train back on the right track.
Jemele, I do believe that we have not arrived yet, you and I, in a space where I'm okay with any idea of it being normal. That I just asked you about the last 8 days, and the assassination attempt isn't something that was within the last 8 days of what it is.
Was that in the 8 days?
No, but I'm not even. I'm saying I'm not even blaming you. I just think that we're making new things normal in a way that. Just it can't be. Like, people are going to get worn out the next 5 months. Like, it's going to test a lot of sanity.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why we're having so many of these conversations, because people are worn out. It's that, a position in his administration won't be there now. And some of those people, while I certainly detest many of them and their beliefs and methodology, they at least did kind of believe in that government needs to run a certain way, that there needs to be governance overall. This time around, if Trump is elected, he will not have those same safety guards in place. Those guardrails will not be there. So literally, if it comes in here and it comes out of here, it's going to be legislation, particularly since he has the Supreme Court, that's his Supreme Court, and he is possibly going to get 2 more appointments. So there's really nothing to stop him from going straight into the path of dictatorship. And I think we just have this very naive idea in our mind that somehow some system, some person is going to come with a cape on and save us from ourselves and save us from our own apathy. And it's like, no, we have to be the heroes in our own story. We have to save ourselves. If we do not save ourselves, there are no systems in place that are going to prevent the most dastardly and extreme outcomes from happening. I'm not saying that to be alarmist. I'm saying that to be real. And, my fear with putting Kamala Harris on the ballot this close out to the election is that energy that we just saw from the media directed at Joe Biden about his health, his cognitive ability, it will be about different topics, but all that energy is going to shift to Kamala Harris. To your point, we've reached the point in the plot where there is literally nothing depraved that Trump could do at this point to get that same coverage of media attention. It just says everything to me about our politics, that the president that has accomplished all these things could not be the convicted felon, could not be somebody who is credibly found liable for rape, could not be someone who has been accused of raping a teenage girl, could not beat somebody who had tried to overthrow the government, could not beat somebody who called for his own, who was happy if his own vice president, when he was president, would be hanged. Like, none of these things have been disqualifying factors. To your point, we've not only normalized the type of candidate that Trump is, which is one of the most, if not the most incompetent in history and unqualified in history. We've not only normalized that, but our reaction, to me, is what's most dangerous about it, is that it doesn't even move the meter for us anymore. And that is scary.
Jemele, I think we can agree that Trump becoming president the first time was in response to a black man being president for 8 years, correct?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely correct.
So let's say that Kamala does become president of the United States, given that what we saw on January 6th. What do you think would be the reaction from the American public once that happens?
Well, before, many people that are, far more expert at these things than I am have suggested this already, is that before she can even get to the ballot, there is an expectation, or at least a fear or concern, however you want to label it, that Republicans will challenge Joe Biden being off the ballot. They want him on the ballot. So they're going to challenge her even being there, right? So to even run for president. So I expect there's going to be a whole lot of legal nonsense that happens before, if Kamala is the chosen candidate, before she can even get there. And my hope is that the Democrats have anticipated that. But to your point, let's just say that she is elected. If Donald Trump was their first response, I hate to see what their second one is, because the reality is that I guess maybe I've lived here too long. Maybe I've been Black too long. Maybe I've been in America too long. Any of those combinations of things. It is just in my mind, as of this moment, hard for me to compute this country actually electing a Black woman as president. But even if I want to take myself that far and have hope that that can happen, because certainly there are a lot more older Black people than me who have seen way more than I have that could never have imagined Barack Obama. But let's just say that happens. This isn't going to be a signal for conservatives or the Republicans or the far right or however you want to label them to then say, maybe we should perhaps get this stench of Donald Trump officially out of our party. This is not going to be some watershed moment. This is not going to be some soul searching that happens. This is going to be them digging harder, more extreme into the things that they already do. So the response is coming. And at every point in history, we have seen that whenever there is tremendous progress that has a hope of America actually living up to what's in the brochure, the backlash and the intensity of it is so fierce and so unrelenting that it doesn't undo the progress or the direction, but it makes it even harder for that progress to be seen fully through.
You don't need my help to articulate these things, but if I were to condense your viewpoints here, can it be said that in a panic, the Democrats, is this an oversimplification to say that in a panic, the Democrats have now thrown a Black woman toward the racist, sexist party, and that's not a winning position?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, and I want people to understand this. This is no reflection of what I think VP Harris's abilities are. I think she's fully capable of being president, and not just a president, a great president. Not only does she have the resume that supports that, I think she has the demeanor. I think she understands things. She's very in-depth and astute about foreign policy and all those things that most Americans are concerned about. Like, I have no doubt that the country would be in good hands. I guess my opinion about whether or not this will work is based off my opinion about where we are in America. It is more about how I feel about where this country is in this moment, more so than how I feel about her. And I guess part of me is already bracing and for all of the racist and misogynistic narratives that are about to suddenly come to light. I've seen them already. I won't repeat any of them because I don't want to give that kind of stuff life. But the shift is about to happen where they are going to analyze, as they should for a lot of presidential candidates or any presidential candidate. They're going to analyze everything she's done since kindergarten, everything she's done. I'll go back even further, since she left the womb. And some of those narratives and some of those tropes are going to remind me about probably the worst elements about what this political cycle tends to bring out. I've spent time with her. Like, she's a lovely person, and she's genuine, and she's real, and she's funny. I mean, you can call me biased if you want, but no, I will not forget the fact that while running for a presidential campaign, she texted me on my wedding day to wish me and my husband good luck and to say that, like, hey, I believe in you guys. It was
That's
very
a spot
positive
for it.
message.
Come on. That can't go unchecked.
I can't tell you.
No. Contextually, you might have thought you were covered, but that was just some extra sauce on it, and you had to be called out.
You know what? Y'all won't let me be great. Y'all won't let me live.
Almost quite
I'm just
literally
trying to add
icing on the
content
cake
to the program. That's what you have me on for. I'm giving you content.
Do you know how pissed we're going to be?
Your own people every time.
Do you know how pissed we're going to be if meteorologists keep striking at the same success rate, but all of a sudden we're paying like $10 a month for it? Like, because right now, hate for meteorologists, that's bipartisan. That reaches across the aisle because there's no accountability for these dudes and girls like getting it wrong all the time. But now all of a sudden you're taking that away for free and we got to pay for it. There's going to be a reckoning.
Jemele, good seeing you. Always.
I see. We see what at the heart of it. I feel like you're going to be out there campaigning now because now that you know about weather and porn,
I need to know. I need to know where the vice president stands on porn.
Welcome to the
I need her to
Yes.
I need the Where's the website where I can look up the platform, not the porn, the platform on porn.
It's Jemele Hill on YouTube. Thank you, Jemele.
That's where I can find it.
That was your
Oops.
friendly
Bad
neighborhood
timing.
race
Bad timing by
lady.
me. I was getting beat up over the weekend on my one and only acting appearance ever on a show, on the show Ballers of The Rock and on Max, that is regarded as one of the great bad shows of all time. I'd put Entourage in there. I'd put Power in there. I think a lot of people like Power.
Empire.
There are a lot of nominees.
Kevin Sullivan was born, and like a couple months later, Entourage signed off. And now he's playing professional sports.
Let's play for the people. This is what qualifies me to talk about all things in film and thespianism. This one appearance I have that has put me in the Screen Actors Guild.
No. Don't want to have to negotiate with this guy.
You won't have to.
Good.
What is the end game here, though, Spence? An agent, broadcaster, coach?
Hell, you're such a star. Why not own the damn team? Why yet?
Well, I figured Venus and Serena could do it. Own a piece of the Dolphins, why can't I?
Magic and Jordan did it.
Getting your profit off the crop ain't enough. You want to own the whole damn plantation. Now, I know your bill been run.
Who is this? You know, why don't you give it a rest, Reggie?
Excuse me, boys. Duty calls.
14 hours that took.
How many cigars did you go through?
So many cigars. It was really, it was 14 hours. It was like a dozen cigars. I'm not even making that up.
Brought Listerine.
It made me sick. I was disgusting. I smelled terrible.
Is that the dude from the Great White Hype?
The reason I bring it up, though, is because as an entree to asking you guys what is the best bad television show of all time, because Entourage is now celebrating 20 years, and I think looking back on it, many of us have regrets about ever liking that show.
Yep, cosign. And I thought it was great, too. But TV, like, it was at the beginning of what it did help usher in this golden age of television because it became a sensation and bigger actors became a part of it. And then the preconceived notions about resigning your career to doing television started to drop away. And now you have the biggest stars on the planet doing television shows.
After that show, Jeremy Piven could have made his choice, you would have thought, because it was the biggest character. Ari Gold was the biggest character going in television at the time. As you know, HBO was changing television because The Sopranos and some of the best stuff on television was coming from HBO. But are you guys, the reason I want to bring up some subject matter here as it relates to Twisters opening at $80 million instead of the expected $40 million. And Deadpool and Wolverine, in its original trailer, produced more views because of the enthusiasm than anything in the history of YouTube. These two characters coming together. And I am sitting at home on my television, ensnared Carlito's Way.
You were sitting on your television?
I'm sitting in front of the television. Yes, I've tried to get my streaming service to come straight through my ass while I sit on television. But I'm watching Carlito's Way. I'm not going to the theater. I'm getting sucked into another showing of Heat on one of the HBO channels.
I'm so excited for Heat 2. I'd want to talk about it, but Bill Simmons is probably already. Yeah, we'll get to the Heat 2 show when that movie actually does come to fruition. But I was in line in a cow costume for Twisters 2. I went to the theater for it. I went to 4DX, which means the seat moves and you get sprayed with wind and water. And I got to tell you, it didn't get off to the greatest start. Slow, they're trying to get you to care about the characters. But I kept wondering for, 15 minutes, the hell's Glenn Powell? And I wasn't the only one in that theater that was wondering that. Because when Glenn Powell arrived on the screen, cheers from the entire theater. Yes. This man of charisma and good looks, what a jawline, is here to save this movie. And after he did save the movie, we were off to the races. Really enjoyed it. I could have done with more cows. In retrospect, the AC was broken in my theater. Not a great decision on the cow costume, but it did allow for me to have a deadpan conversation where my wife and I are waiting in the line for candy, in which inflation's actually caught up to. By the way, a bottle of water is still like $6, but it didn't seem that ridiculous when everything else is so expensive. But a guy came up to us and he's like, "You guys seeing Twisters?" They're just deadpan. No, what's that?
Yeah. In a cow costume.
In a cow costume. And then I told him I was watching Inside Out.
You briefly mentioned Heat and Heat 2, and I think that, the audience and ourselves would be remiss if we didn't mention Miami Heat tonight are playing for the Summer League Championship at 8 p.m. We've long said Pat Riley one more championship before he rides off into the sunset. Is tonight the night?
They do get a ring for this.
Man,
there is precedent for one.
I saw yesterday. I was like, oh, tomorrow. I saw yesterday that today at 8 p.m. they play in the championship, and I was like, man, Billy's going to make fun of this. So we checked that off.
It's always been something
I didn't.
It's always been something that I've always seen it as a sign. You don't want to be playing in this Summer League championship game. Because it's all like some teams have. I remember when the Kings were bad. them really celebrating this, and teams do get championship rings. This is not a great sign.
No, it's a big night for the Spider Whip.
How many other people were wearing costumes at
Just my wife and I. We really we missed the mark when it came to the people that might have tied the cows to the twisters, just because in the original 1996 film there was one cow. Common misconception that it was two cows. No, quite famously, same cow. Wow. So there was a moment in the movie in Twisters where there's a tornado that's about to hit a rodeo. You can get this is not a spoiler. You can gather this from the trailer. So my wife and I are thinking, it's our moment. There's a bunch of cows at this rodeo.
Is that an elbow and udder that you're using with your left hand?
God, there was another moment where I got too hot in this costume. I'm like, I'm going to have to say something. Yeah. The AC is broken in here. And so, like, I got up from my seat and I walked down in the middle of the movie. Not everybody, I guess, had seen me make my entrance. So that was a lot of extra attention that I wasn't necessarily.
Really? You didn't want the extra attention?
I wanted to dress as a cow, but I kind of thought, like, other people would be into this.
You should have said, hey, worker of the movie theater worker, we need more. We're looking for air, and we need more.
Yeah. It took you a while to get to that one. Huh?
Yeah. Other people is pretty
My
good.
wife is having a cow over there. We got to have this AC over there.
No. All right,
but I will say it's
got to steer clear.
It was a fun popcorn movie. It was a fun summertime action movie of a bygone era.
I'm stunned that it doubled. Yesterday between Carlito's Way and Heat, I stumbled upon the original Twister. Or Twisters. I don't even remember whether the original was.
Yeah, much higher body count in this one.
I couldn't believe that Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it. I didn't have any recollection of Philip Seymour Hoffman being in the original.
He was wearing that Oklahoma Sooners cap.
Thank you for your great memory on this subject. I didn't have the recall to remember all things about this movie. That a disaster movie in 2024, that you would dress up as a cow for it, and that it would double expectations when it's a really silly movie that only people remember what happens if a cow gets caught in a tornado. Well, that's what happens. It spins all over the place. I thought there were hundreds because I was surprised to see one.
No, it's the one same cow that the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers and Atlanta Hawks informs us of. Yeah. She was also in Lost Boys. She married.
How'd the cow do?
In this one?
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything, and you may miss it. Blink and you might miss the one cow. Jeez. And it's not like your conventional spotted cow. So that also makes it a little bit less fun. Huh? They could have used more cows.
In trying to correct...
What are we talking, solid brown cow here? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I need more cow.
Chocolate milk.
I need more cow.
Who is that?
That's
Christopher Walken.
Sean Connery.
I need more cow.
It sounded like Sean Connery was
I got
there.
a fever, and I need more cow. Should have started saying that in the theater.
Yeah.
I got a fever.
But the expectation is that this storm will die out and dissipate a little bit because Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out, which I'm also going to the theater for. Because
costume?
No costume for this one, but we do get a popcorn bucket for this, so I'm excited about that. The popcorn bucket could, I guess, just replace that. Yeah. But a lot of people have this multiverse fatigue. It's been dubbed that. I am one of them. I am kind of checking out on these Marvel movies because there are no real consequences anymore. Someone can die in this universe and they'll just sprout up in another one. No real consequences. So I'm hoping that a tongue-in-cheek approach to saying what everyone is thinking about the multiverse, this is the right movie at the right time.
Deadpool will mock the whole thing.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds can mock the whole thing. In fact, there's plenty of that in the trailer. Now, a lot of people are upset that the trailers are showing too much. So much so that Marvel has announced maybe just one trailer for movies henceforth because this has given away a lot of the goods. There's a lot of spoilers. When you start opening multiverses, it's a can of worms, Dan.
I've got a couple of questions for you guys based on what it is that is happening in this realm. Could you mention nostalgia that has surprised me about Twisters making a reappearance? Why wouldn't Beverly Hills Cop 4 traffic in the same thing of bringing together Taggart and Judge Reinhold or what? Reinhold?
Reinhold.
There's a D.
Bringing together the old gang to Beverly Hills Cop 3 was an abomination.
I saw good reviews for that. The not Beverly Hills 3. Beverly Hills Cop 3 I enjoyed in the amusement park, but I was also like 12 So
Oh my God,
I
so
understand.
bad.
I understand it was bad.
Killed the franchise.
I understand it was bad, but I heard that this direct to Netflix one got good reviews. I'm getting to it.
I have not seen it yet, but I would assume that Eddie Murphy making a return would be something that people would buy in on. But I ask you, when you stop using him or someone like him as a barometer for whether you'll check in on their choices, given what he and De Niro have done the last few years, where there's just so much crud that you don't actually want to see Eddie Murphy in anything because it hasn't aged well.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. He's long. I guess Pluto Nash. We've decided this guy isn't going to make the greatest choices. So I don't know if I ever lumped him into the class of I have to watch whatever this person does because they make great choices. I don't think he's ever been in that. So whenever Eddie Murphy does something that is received well, then I'll check it out, because all too often it's received poorly, and then I generally end up agreeing with the.
None of you guys have interest in this? None of you guys have
No,
interest
I
in
do.
the Beverly Hills Cop?
I'm going to watch it.
I saw it. I saw it.
Oh, yeah?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
I really liked the fact that they did bring back John Ashton and Judge Reinhold and Paul Reiser in this movie. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. But I found it to be a really good movie.
I don't think Twisters did well because of the nostalgia portion of it. I think Twisters did well because of Glenn Powell. Like, I think everybody really loves Glenn Powell right now, and he's bringing people to the theater. I have no interest in that movie. I never saw Twister, the original.
You don't have to disparage the original.
But I never saw it. I was born a year before
something.
it came out, and I had
You're
no interest
young.
in seeing it. And so now, as
You
a
don't
young
have
person,
to.
I'm like, hey, Glenn Powell seems cool. He's a good leading man. I'm interested in seeing this movie. It's that simple.
You don't have to see the original for this one to make sense. It's a totally standalone sequel, which I think is a shame because there should have been more Easter eggs for people dressed as cows.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ryan Reynolds, and I saw a movie that got next to no attention that made me crawl around in my skin, and was only him. The name of the movie is Buried, and it's him buried alive, and the movie never leaves the inside of the coffin. Obviously, it requires patience from a moviegoer if you don't mind feeling claustrophobic for 90 minutes, because the whole thing is taking place inside of a coffin. The reason that I bring it up is because I meant to ask all of you guys, and I have failed to do it today. Over the weekend, I had an MRI. I don't know whether any of you have had an MRI, and the freak out that it caused for me once it is that they put the helmet on your head and lock you in, and now they've got Netflix. You can watch it while you're in there, but you're going to feel like
I don't like that.
It's a bit
That's cheating.
But it's a scuba tank on your head, and now however claustrophobic you were before, even if you didn't think you were claustrophobic, now you've got like a lead vest on you and an inability to move. You can't scratch your face. You're in an aquatic headgear that you sneeze in, you cough in. It freaked me out. Like the whole experience of being in that tight of a space made me feel claustrophobic when I didn't think I was claustrophobic. And so I wanted to ask you guys.
Did your chart say you were claustrophobic?
Yeah, what did it say?
What do you mean my chart?
Well, I'm sure that's data.
I've got to wait for 15 days to see
you don't have to wait
whatever
to
it
find
is.
out if you're claustrophobic.
My chart? What do you mean my chart?
Yeah, I mean, they took some readings, right?
Yeah.
That's all data. You freaking out. And also, I'm not for this, like, you get to watch Netflix.
Me neither.
I'm of a generation where you used to raw dog that shit.
MRIs used to mean something.
You guys have had MRIs, all of you?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Can you
I played spring
scroll
football
your own
once.
Netflix? Or are they asking you what you
They
want
ask
to watch?
you at the top. They
So it's
ask
like
you-
a,
What'd you
like a
watch?
dentist style. What would you like to watch?
Well, it
Like,
sounds
my
like-
daughter.
I can't get into a whole thing now. Like now I'm going to have to be invested in this
It's,
show.
it's honestly how I felt about my daughter at the dentist, because they have these like TVs now. Like she's looking up
Yeah.
at the dentist. She's like watching like Inside Out.
On
I'm
the
like,
roof, yeah.
Back in my day,
Generation of idiots
you
for
struggled
raising.
here.
I'd
Yeah.
freak out with it. You know what? Just put on Mrs. Doubtfire. It's light. I can jump in at any point.
Did
and
you
I don't have
ask
to
them
finish it.
how long it was going to take? Because then do you pick what you're watching based on length? Like I do that on planes sometimes.
Ooh, this is gonna take a half hour. Let me watch a half hour.
No,
Yeah.
they said it was an hour. And,
hour show.
And
Comedy special, maybe.
I chose, well, this is what happened to me, though. The freak out was strong enough that I decided to just keep my eyes closed and try and breathe through it for the 60 minutes. But what is actually got put in your mask is a mirror of a television that evidently is behind you. And
Yeah.
so once I opened my eyes with 30 seconds left, I could see, it probably would have been pretty nice to do it that way.
Oh, really? So like Mrs. Doubtfire's throwing the fruit lefty.
So do you watch the movie backwards since it's in a mirror?
No, Billy. I don't know how I'd watch the movie because I didn't see the movie, but I would imagine that the movie would be something meant to distract me at an hour at a time. None of you guys, surely the audience knows what I'm talking about. You guys think it's weird that I would have the freak out on that?
No, not at all. It tracks completely.
Weird is that you're watching Netflix while
Weird
having
would have
an
been you
MRI.
saying, like, I took an MRI and it was totally fine and totally normal. Nothing happened.
Did you ask them
Waiting
to put
for the
it,
results?
Did you ask them to put it on mute?
Yeah, can you change the channel or
how I
like
watch
the movie?
No, because I went eyes closed, just relaxing spa music.
Yeah, it seems like you were super relaxed.
Yeah, that really helped. Yeah.
The panic attack.
When you do the next one, you
relaxing.
should watch something.
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire, I'm telling you, get over the whole '90s aspect.
I
of it.
originally
Drive-by
chose
fruiting.
Knives Out was what I ended up choosing.
Oh, you gotta
be kidding me.
You gotta think too much.
Make better
Don't-
choices in your life.
Don't watch anything from the 80s because they tell you
Exactly.
don't get a boner, and you never know when there's a sex scene from a movie's in the 80s. It'll just pop up. It'll be in a kid's movie.
They tell you that when you're getting an MRI?
Yeah, they tell you that. Don't get a boner.
Does it happen often enough that
Well,
they need to tell you?
So now they figured
Depends
out
what
that
you're
they
watching.
can't tell you anymore because then all people can think about is like, well, don't get a boner, don't get a boner, don't get a boner.
Depends what you're watching.
The choice that I was going to make that I did not make was
Too hot to handle.
Hard Knocks, the New York Giant.
Oh, the
story.
off-season one.
And I was
Mike
wondering,
Florio hates that show.
Well, I got bothered by the 4 minutes that I saw where I was just like, oh, really? Just executives coming in and out of offices. This is football, making decisions. And I do appreciate that there is more access than we've ever gotten before. So you can see the Giants fumble around Saquon Barkley in a way that makes them end up looking to the innards of the thing feeling dirty.
You got great access to that. You don't like that? That's them actually showing you something that's
It's
interesting.
Mike Florio's problem with it. He's like, this access is too good. This is we crossed a line here. This is unfair to the players. This is a bad look for personnel. We got to stop this.
The thing that I was made uncomfortable by is the glorifying of all of the fantasy GMs who now get to watch 8 dudes sitting in a room agonizing over the transaction. To me, it felt like the glorifying. I have watched what's getting glorified around here. You guys have seen, right? The difference between what is the real Tyreek Hill coverage of what's going on in his personal life and how it was framed for us when you get the people involved who can manipulate the messaging on how it is that they bring you all this mythology. The Giants are uninteresting, like wildly uninteresting. They have to find some ways to make the Giants interesting because the one player they had we cared about, they just lost to Philadelphia, a team that has run over them the last few years.
So you liked it, though.
I kind of got dragged in.
Yeah. So check this one out. Yeah. Are you endorsing it? Because it fired you up to talk about it.
What I got bothered by is 7 guys walking in and out of rooms, day ball. I just got bothered by all the leadership stuff when your team's not any good.
Well, you're not playing online dynasty mode in CFB 25 because that's all there is. You're talking about a 3-star like you're living and dying with
your
it.
team's not going to be any good.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I watched my palate cleanser for Twisters was this movie called In a Violent Nature. What? And it's one of these Shudder originals, and Shudder's been doing some good things. They try to lean into like the 1980s slasher films. It's a whole platform for that stuff, and this is an original movie, and it's like your traditional slasher film, like this zombie with a weapon that you can't kill.
Is Shudder working? Because I got it years ago. My brother loved it.
Well, you may be entitled to some money. There was a class action lawsuit on a data thing that came from AMC, but I enjoyed Shudder because I think Shudder does great documentaries. Cursed Films and their 101 Scariest Movies of All Time was one of the legitimately best like docu-series I'd ever seen because they had the rights to everything. And so their original movies, I forget the name of this one that I actually went to the theater for, about this late night talk show that there was an actual possession and an exorcism that took place in there, and I enjoyed that. But In a Violent Nature is about this slasher film, your traditional slasher film, but it only follows the killer. It's shot behind the killer's POV. You literally see this guy just walking through the forest, stalking upon people. And it's an interesting way. It's an ambitious movie, but what I realized is the whole slasher thing, I'm just watching to see how, because they do practical effects, and I'm a geek about like The Fly looked amazing because of all these practical effects, and CGI is kind of ruining it. So I want to see like how gross you can be with your practical effects. And this one's pretty gruesome, but I have no connection to any of the people escaping the killer because I never see them. I'm just stumbling upon their conversations, trying to piece together a story. Got to care about characters before you start killing them. Otherwise, it's just gruesome and just over the top.
That's right. You need it. It's important for storytelling.
Late Night with the Devil is the one that I saw. That one I fully endorse. That's
I
a
like
great
that
film.
one. It's weird, super strange.
Yeah, really. Shudder's trying some different things, so I enjoy their movies.
I didn't know what was happening with the horror genre in general. It would strike me as a genre that would be difficult to keep in play. But can we get back to our original subject, which is best worst shows of all time? If I went all in with a hand, like who's winning, who won between Ballers and Entourage?
Entourage was much better in terms of like winning and more popular. Is that how we're doing this? Since
Best
we're all
worst
bad?
show
more
means
bad, though?
best worst show means that you would rank it. Everybody would say that's a bad show, but it's the best of the bad shows I've ever seen.
I think Ballers was worse because everybody was saying like this is a knockoff of Entourage.
I think more people would put Ballers in this conversation we're talking about.
So is a
Some
good
people,
show-
I think, just consider Entourage good. I'm with you. I agree that it should be in this category, but I think more people think Entourage is actually good than think Ballers is actually good.
So are we voting for a show that's good or a show that's bad?
It's a show that's bad, but it's the best of the bad. It is a
In the
bad,
bad
show.
sense or
It
the
is
good
eternally. It is not bad meaning bad. It is bad meaning good. It is bad meaning bad. It is
So
not
bad that you
want to
watch
good.
it.
More confused. So,
So
like
bad that you wanna
guilty,
watch it?
guilty pleasure?
Alf.
Like you
Essentially.
like it so you
Alf.
want to watch it again, or it's the worst of the
It
bad?
is a bad show, but it's the best of the bad shows, so therefore you will watch it.
Well,
So
so
the
far,
best means it's good, but it's bad.
No, it's not good. It's bad.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, can reality TV count
King
in
of
this
Queens.
regard?
yeah, we've only said sitcoms so far. I mean, I could say Jerry Springer. And
Well,
that could probably
Ballers
win
and
it all.
Entourage are not sitcoms.
Are we putting
Ballers-
reality?
Nip Tuck.
Like Jersey Shore, is that allowed in here?
Like the whole
I think
all
it
the
should have to
Murphy
be
shows.
scripted.
All the
Just
Murphy
scripted
shows are kind of all like purposefully bad and cheesy, but they have huge fan bases, and he can get any project that he wants made in Hollywood. There are people that my wife loves American Horror Story, and I sit back and I'm like, oh, this has the appropriate amount of Murphy cheese.
Why
in it.
Glee is, right there at the top of the list is one of those. I was thinking of shows from like my childhood era. Pretty Little Liars is one that definitely works at this. It's a
PLO,
truly
yeah, I
terrible
hear you.
TV
That one's
show.
great. I hate watch that
Yes.
with my wife.
It's
Wait,
a
now you're
great
watching the new
show
generation. You're not watching,
to
please.
despise.
Which one are you watching? You're not watching.
I watched that one. We hate
The
watching
original?
it.
No,
Couldn't
not
stop
the
watching.
original.
Not the original. The one that
It's happening
high
right now.
school one, whatever it's called.
it's
now,
so
please.
bad and
Do
so
they even
wonderful.
have A? Come on, get out.
Do you remember
of here.
Secret Life of
PLO.
the American Teenager with Shailene Woodley? Because that is one of the worst shows that's ever been aired on television, and it is remarkable. And I was thinking like the OC, shows like that maybe get into the top tier, because I love the OC.
Phantom
That's a show
Planet.
I'll go back and watch over and over
Great
again.
theme, banger. You know, Jason Schwartzman was a drummer of that band.
Really?
So if Ballers and Entourage are playing a game of basketball against each other, and they score points, is the high point advancing or the low point advancing? I'm trying to figure out if the one that advances in this bracket is a bad
It's
show
a bad
or if it's
show.
a
So
better
it's gotta
show.
be the worst.
I've been very consistent in telling you at every turn, no matter how many different
I
ways
don't
you ask me the
understand.
question, is that it's a bad show. I haven't moved off that position. You keep asking me if it's a good show, and I keep telling you at every turn, it's a bad show. It's universally a bad show, but it's the best of the bad shows.
That's where I'm getting lost.
Riverdale?
And so it's not a good show. Power is a good example of this. Power is a show that I will watch, and I'll be guilty the entire time I'm watching. I'm like, this isn't any good, but it's good because it's bad.
So the one that you enjoy watching most is Moving On, right? Not the one you enjoy watching less.
But it's got to be on a scale of very, very bad as well.
Oh.
So you got to weigh those against each
Art
other.
of Conversation.
I don't know who's advancing.
Too close to the bone? What, guys? It's
that-
been some
that-
time.
that looked like that hurt.
I kind of feel like whatever happened there, we've kind of buried it and we're good. We've moved on.
That was a good show.
It was. I mean, aesthetically pleasing.
It was a good show. For 2 episodes, it was a good show.
How many convertible cutscenes can one show have? You somehow had more convertible cutscenes than Entourage.
Play the game like, oh, that cloud looks like this. Can we put that picture back up of the cloud? Because there's like two clouds here. There's like the bluish part and then the gray. The gray looks like the alien face. Do you guys see that? It looks like the.
Oh yeah,
like going
the
this way.
popcorn bucket.
Oh my god, it looks like the popcorn bucket. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not trivializing. I'm not going to trivialize it either. But do you remember when Stugotz, when
Wow, my brain.
How's
might
it going?
actually
You
be
okay?
right.
You
Wow.
were struggling with trivialized too.
Yeah,
Having a stroke?
A cup of coffee? You want to get a cup of coffee?
Okay, so do you remember when Roy indirectly? Well, he directly quoted Twister. He just had no idea when he was doing it.
I
because he was-
remember. Yes.
The context was that a tornado touched down in his neighborhood, and he directly quoted Twister by saying word for word, "You've never seen it miss this house and that house and come straight after you." And he just kept moving as if he didn't directly quote Twister, and we called him out on it, and he's like, "I guess I did."
Yeah. I didn't know at the time. I'm glad you pointed it out.
Yeah. So I know that you don't necessarily go to a secondary ticket marketplace, but I imagine the demand for Twisters is through the roof.
I'm Bill Paxton.
Through the roof. And say, hey, if there were a secondary ticket marketplace for movies, I imagine Game Time would be the industry leader in that too. Because Game Time, for me, is the top of the heap when it comes to the secondary ticket marketplace, because anytime I need a ticket and I'm in a pinch and it's in demand, I go there first because I know they got the low price guarantee, seller customer service. I can see what my seat looks like. I love this app, and I implore you to download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I love that low price guarantee. That is the Game Time app. Support us and Game Time by using that promo code Dan.
I want to circle back to something that we touched on earlier in the show, and it's the joy that one gets when a major news story breaks and you're like the first one, and you feel like, I feel like other people don't know this yet. And it's like, who am I going to text? Usually the way I do it is I form my sentence. In this case, it was Joe Biden has stepped down and he chose Kamala as his replacement. And I thought I got that sentence
Right.
formed out. I get scared. Like I'm just.
You did it better.
That was the original
Did you
sentence
send
there, yeah.
that out or
Had
you
to be there.
corrected that?
You get scared of Kamala's name? Is that what it is?
We had a whole meeting before the
You
show
made
about
Joe
the right
Biden
way
a
to
woman.
say it. And once we started saying it both ways, I was like, wait, which way is the
Good
way to
news
say
is you
it?
said it right. Bad news is you made Joe Biden a woman.
Well, so I wrote out the text, Joe Biden is out. I didn't even involve Kamala. That's the part about this is like I felt so awkward about it that I felt like I needed to insert it. Anyways,
Did you spell his name out the way it's spelled or the way you put it on the board?
Leave him alone.
Well, that was
Bidan?
that was Biden, like bye, Joe Biden.
You
You like
wanted
the internet, huh?
You wanted badly to deliver the news to your family that Biden was out. Did Shams break the news?
Who
No.
did break it?
No, but
I
a lot
broke
of
it to my
Biden broke the
parents.
news.
a lot of people learned from Shams because they have Shams on mobile alerts because we love sports. But it came the timing of it doesn't work out. I think he went there 4 minutes after the actual news came out.
Biden did it in a tweet, correct?
Biden announced it.
So strange.
In memo form.
But
Yeah.
did you guys do what I did? Did you take the news and it's like, who can I tell this to? Because this is a big story and people are going to freak out. And I just got joy, even though, like, as I pointed out earlier in the show, I don't really care about politics that much. I know that makes me a jerk. But I just felt like I wanted to share this news because it was juicy.
I kind of felt like I was late to it because it happened while I was in a movie theater. So I came out to a whole new world.
You announcing that as a cow must have been incredible.
Guys!
I am honestly stupefied by everything that's happening around here and the speed with which it is happening. Chris Cody, your zeal in wanting to sit out politics except to be the person who informs your mother.
Just facts.
Of like,
That's all I work
I
with.
got the Shams information before you did, Mom, because you're a lawyer living life and
Well,
I'm super connected to sports at every moment.
My mom also, huge Biden guy. I wanted to needle her with that a little bit.
Guy?
We do that too. Like in sports, do we do this in politics like
Needle
we
her.
do in sports? Like, like when your team, like if something bad happens to the Braves, I'm going to text my Braves friend and tell him. When the Biden thing came out, I was like, who's my mom?
This
Big
feels
Biden
like
supporter.
a funny, playful time for you guys, for
Yes.
the Codys over on that.
It's like sports to me. It's like, oh,
Always
who
got
can
to
I,
have banter.
who can I needle
It's the
about
one thing
this?
that brings everything together is banter. That and our hate for weather forecasters.
Can you get me the impersonation that your father's coming tomorrow to rescue the show, heroically rescue the show that Stugotz has left in an avalanche of his perpetual lies? Your father is coming in with a Biden impersonation.
It's a phone call. I mean, my dad didn't do this. Joe Biden left a voicemail for my dad. I have it here if you want to hear it. We can just play a little snippet from my phone.
Okay, but how do you feel about it? Because he's been asking me to promote this on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, and I think the response is what Billy's is, which is to hold the side of his face in some form of pain, because your father... Yeah,
well, I think it's more just people should be amazed that with everything going on with Joe Biden, he had time this weekend to give his friend Greg Cody a call.
Wow.
And, like, I think we should listen to it.
Hey, GC, it's Joe. Hey, it's been a long while since I've reached out to you. Listen, you may have heard things aren't going real well with the campaign right now. Trump got shot in the ear and it's working for him. And now at some event I was at the other day, they caught me talking to a woman and somebody rushed up to me and some malarkey about me talking to somebody thinking it was Jill. That's ridiculous. But there's a lot of blondes now. I remember my dad sitting around the kitchen table in Scranton.
See, he just says Scranton. We'll cut it off there. You can listen to the rest on the Greg Cody
No!
Show.
Why would we want to listen to any of it?
What a tease.
I felt
you
like Pam
believe
getting an MRI.
Can you believe that he had time to call my dad? The week he's had?
Greg Cody will heroically come and rescue the show tomorrow and maybe multiple times this week from the battering it is taking at the hands of Stugotz. Jeremy, you did something today, and we had no time to get to it. We ran out of conversation. We ran out of space. What is it that you prepared for the show that we weren't able to get to?
I'm just excited about the way Gen Z is reacting to the Kamala Harris news because, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the "you think you fell out of a coconut tree" is a quote from Kamala that has been going sort of viral. And so on TikTok, this is the way, Chris, if you want to pot up the sound here, this is the way that Gen Z is reacting during Brat Summer, Charlie XCX, to what's happening here. Culture is going to win this election for the Democrats. No one in this room understands what's happening here.
Nope.
But Charlie XCX has Brat Summer going right now, and it's like an incredibly trendy thing on social media, especially with Gen Z women.
Brat is good.
Brat is a good thing, okay? Brat
all
is a
right.
good thing. You're having a Brat Summer. It's fun. It's a party. She tweeted out last night, Kamala is Brat. And they're also remixing that quote with a Kesha song and the deep breath that's happening there. I think we have that video as well that we could play here.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Dance.
I'm telling you, the reason that Donald Trump won the election is because everybody on the internet thought he was funny, even though he was, courting Nazis. And so in this case, you have a very memeable president. Finally, we were bored by Joe Biden. Right. Gen Z's going to love the memes. I'm telling you, this is the only way. This is the only way. You got to run that stuff as actual ad breaks during like NFL games when Taylor Swift's over at a Chiefs
That's
game.
why Trump won the election?
Yeah, and the whole Nazi thing.
Well, hopefully it wasn't because he was running against a woman, because that spells bad news.
Also, total side note and completely unrelated, I'm hijacking this and saying this here. I mentioned Camp Fiesta, which is happening next week on Mystery Crate this past week, and over $700 in donations came in from fans of the show. I am like so beyond touched by the fact that people were willing to give to this cause. For those of you who don't know what it is or don't remember what it is from last year, Camp Fiesta is a 9-day sleepaway summer camp for children with cancer that my family has been a part of for the last 39 years. It's year 40 next year. We unfortunately had to spend a lot extra on our budget this year because the place that we normally stay is now under construction and we had to find a hotel. So all of these funds are incredibly appreciated. The fans of the show are amazing. I'm so touched by someone who even reached out to say, hey, can I sponsor an entire camper's trip next year? So if you're interested in donating to that cause where we know it will go directly to camp, it's campfiesta.com/donate. Thank you guys so much.
I am uncomfortable saying anything other than how did that become a thank you speech?
Brat Summer, baby.
I can't say anything else, right? I have to just stay over here and just say thank you.
Yeah, I made it awkward.
I mean, yeah.
Chris told me to get in whenever I wanted. It was the wrong time.
Did he?
Yeah, he's a good EP.
Is he? Is he?